In this video, we're going to take the picture of Sandra Bullock and we're going to place it in our final poster configuration, and we're going to repair the missing part of the helmet that isn't in the original photo. I'll begin by putting the picture into the composition with the background by going to Select All, and then I'll go up to Edit, Copy Merged, because I have a layer mask, and then I'll go to my background image, and I'll go to Edit, Paste. Now I would like to flip it horizontally. I could have gone to Edit Transform and flip horizontal, or I could use the key quick, which is Command T, and if I right click inside, I'll see flip horizontal. I'll put it down at the bottom of my composition and I'll save. The picture itself is kind of dark, so I'm going to play with the values of it. I'll go down to the bottom of the layer window and I'll click on the little black and white circle icon and I'll choose levels. And I want to affect just the picture with the face on it. In the properties, I would click on the little white box at the bottom of the properties window, and that would isolate whatever changes I made just through the picture of the space person. So I'll click and drag at the far right, and you can see now the values are getting lighter. I'll leave it like that. Now we're going to repair the missing part of the helmet. Before you fix the helmet, we're going to merge the two layers now, the layer with the image and the levels. I'll go to the upper right hand corner of the layer window, clicking on the series of white lines, holding my mouse down, and as I scroll down, I'm going to see Merge Down as an option. Next, I'll select the background layer, Sky, and I'll add a new layer. I'm going to hit M on the keyboard to get the marquee, and I want the elliptical marquee. To make a perfect circle that's roughly the shape of the helmet, I would hold the Shift key and just click and drag. Now, I don't know if that's the right size, so I'll put it in position, and if I needed to make it bigger or smaller, I could right-click and choose Transform Selection, and I could just click and drag and scale it up or down. With the new layer selected and the selection on that layer, I'm going to make sure I have black on my toolbar for the foreground color. Now, there's two ways to do that. I could go in and click on the Mini-Me in the lower left-hand corner of the swatches, and it will give me black and white. Or I could click on whatever the foreground color is, and in the color picker I could drag it down to the lower left-hand corner. I'm going to fill that selection on that layer. I could do so by hitting G on the keyboard. If it's my gradient tool, I can click on it and select the paint bucket. And then I'll go ahead and I'll click inside that circle shape, and I'll hit Command D to deselect and Command S to save. Next, we want to repair where it's actually missing pieces we need to add to this. I'll go to the layer with the image, and I'm going to hit L on the keyboard to get my lasso tool. I'm going to use the Lasso Cowboy tool, the one that's default on top. And then in my image, I'm going to make a broad selection over a piece that I would like to kind of use over here now. So I'll just go ahead and I'll make a selection kind of like this, because we want to copy this particular area. And even though I'm getting part of her head and part of the helmet, I can always hide what I don't want with the layer mask. Once I have what I need, I can go to Edit Copy, and then Edit Paste. And now if I get my Move tool by hitting V, I have that extra piece. Now I want to bend this so it kind of covers up this area that's missing. To do so, I'll go up to the top of the user interface, and I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to choose the term Puppet Warp. Now the way this tool works, you can go and if you click with your left mouse, it will leave this little circle shape. You can place them incrementally, and then they will allow you to move and bend that shape to fit where you would like it to go. I'll hit Return on the keyboard, and I'll save. Now I'm going to put a layer mask on so I can fine-tune this. Going over to my layer window, I'll go down to the bottom, and I'll click on the white box with the black circle, and now I can use my brush to go in and edit that out. I'll hit B on the keyboard to get my brush, and I'll right-click inside to make sure the hardness is 100%, and then the size I'll figure it out as I go. I could have also gone up to the upper left-hand corner of the user interface, and I could have changed my brush settings there. Placing my brush over my document window, I can use the closed bracket near the letter P to make it larger or smaller. I I want to blend this area right in here a little bit, so I'm going to make my brush a little softer. Maybe I'll make it 50%. And then maybe I'll change my brush size a little bit. And I'll just kind of make that more of a softer transition there. And I'll hit Command S to save. And at this point, we should have something like this. I also have a very black area from the circle we have on the layer below the image here. And I want to soften this so it blends in better. So I'm going to select the layer with the image of Sandra Bullock, and I'll put my layer mask on there. That will allow me to go in now with that brush. And I think I'll make it a bit softer by right-clicking and reducing the hardness maybe to 30. And that will allow me, when the black is on top, to kind of make a softer, less radical transition between the picture and the black circle on layer 2. The last thing we need to do is put a reflection at the top of the helmet where we added on that piece. I'm putting a new layer at the top of the layer order. I've switched so white is on top because we want a reflection that's not unlike what we see on the front part of the helmet. I've right-clicked, I've changed the hardness of my brush to 30, and I'm making the brush size 60. I'll hit M on the keyboard because again I want to draw a circle that's roughly the size of the helmet. Making sure that my selection tool is the elliptical marquee. Holding the shift, I'll click and drag from the upper left down to the right hand corner, and then I'll go ahead and start to place it. Now I know the circle's too small, but as long as I'm on that marquee, I can right click and I can choose transform selection, and then I can start to scale it up so it's closer to the shape of the helmet again. I have what I want. I'll hit return to set the scale, and on that layer I'll hit B to get my brush, and I'll just start to paint well outside of it, just enough to be a bit of white on the inside of that selection I just made. Once I have something like that, I'll deselect, and I'll get my move tool, and I'll just pull it in a bit off the edge of the helmet.